I'm in the mood for a fun little rom-com. I'm not really feeling the rom-com vibes. Zombies and Undertaking and dead bodies, cadavers everywhere. He's very grumpy. He's apparently attractive. I would die for him. Hi, I'm Grace. Welcome back to my channel. It is lovely to have you here, and welcome to this little romance Valentine's reading vlog. It is incredibly rainy and grey and misty outside today. We had a little bit of snow earlier, but it's all just kind of turned into sludge now. So we're gonna have a very cozy start to this reading vlog, hopefully. And I have two books that I'd really like to get to in the run-up to Valentine's. So first up we have Girl Goddess Queen by B. Fitzgerald. This is an irreverent rom-com retelling of Persephone and Hades. It's a young adult novel. I don't know too much else about it other than I follow the author on TikTok and she's really funny and seems really cool and very into Greek mythology, so I feel like she knows her stuff. But I just think this is gonna be really good fun. I'm in the mood for a fun little rom-com, and the sprayed edge on here says, "To hell with love," or "To hell with love." I don't know why, but that really tickles me. I also have the audiobook for this one, so if you watched my last vlog, you know I have a lot of crocheting to get done. I started making a jumper that was meant to be for my partner for Christmas, but here we are in February, so I have a lot of catching up to do, but hopefully I can get a good chunk of that done while listening to the audiobook of this one. But continuing the pink theme, we also have The Undertaking of Hart and Mercy by Bannen. This is actually my boyfriend's favorite book. And this is his fancy copy with sprayed edges and everything, so he'll kill me if I actually read this one. We have a reading copy instead. This is a fantasy romance set in quite a strange world. He tried to explain it to me, but I didn't really understand. I know that there are zombies, so that's always fun. But it's kind of a you've got mail sitch where the two main characters don't really like each other. They don't get on, but they end up writing letters to each other and fall in love that way without knowing who the other person is. So both very rom-com vibes. I'm just in the mood for some fluff and some good fun. But yeah, I think I'm gonna get started with Girl Goddess Queen so I can listen to some of the audiobook and get some crochet done. I'm gonna grab some lunch too, and I will update you when I know more. So see you in a bit. We have soup. I also got a couple of these new wine glasses in the sale the other day, and I've just been drinking everything out of them because it feels very medieval. It makes me feel like a paladin in a banquet hall. It's the little things, you know? So, I'm on chapter 12 of Girl Goddess Queen, and I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I will say that I'm not really feeling the rom-com vibes yet. I'm feeling more enemies to lovers, or at least aggravated co-inhabitors to lovers. This is a very feminist retelling, as all of the Greek retellings seem to be, kind of taking a Greek legend and retelling it through a feminist lens, which we love to see it, but it's definitely not as romance heavy as I was expecting, at least so far. I'm sure it'll hit sometime soon, but I'm not loving this depiction of Hades. As in, as a person, he is annoying me. I will see how that plays out within the context of this. I'm sure that he's gonna get a lot of character development, but currently, he kinda sucks. He's very grumpy. He's apparently attractive. He has had some softer moments, but also doesn't care enough for my liking just about general issues without giving too much away. So he's gonna need a lot of growth for me to enjoy the romance between the two of them, I think. But I'm not that far in. I have a long way to go. I am reserving judgment. As of yet, we will see. Chris and I are heading over to some friends tonight, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna get any more reading done today. I might listen to a bit more on the way, but I will probably be catching up with you in the morning. I do want to give a quick shout out to just how gorgeous this edition of this book is. Like, I've taken the dust jacket off and this is the hardcover. And the end pages are stunning. And they even have these extra little end page illustrations of Hades and then Persephone. This is one of the most stunning editions I've ever seen, and this was just like the bookstore edition. It didn't come in a fancy subscription box. So I really am hoping that I love the rest of the book because I want to keep this edition. It's so pretty. But yeah, I will catch up with you in the morning. Hello, it is the next day. I have listened to a bit more of Girl Goddess Queen. I'm on chapter 18 now, and Hades is annoying me less. He's alright, but he's still just kind of alright. I'm not obsessed with him, you know? I think he still has some persuading to do. But Chris and I are gonna go on a little reading date at a cafe, and I'm gonna start The Undertaking of Hart and Mercy. This is my little reading copy so that I don't ruin his fancy one. Also, little Valentine's fit check and a moment for the boots. I am about 35 pages into here. Have I mentioned I'm a slow reader? I'm enjoying it so far. It is very funny and just kind of weird. The world building in here is really kooky. I was saying to Chris, it feels kind of like a kid's book in the sense that you just take whatever wacky creative idea you have and chuck it in there. And it's just fun and weird. It's also very blunt when it explains things to you. It doesn't really explain things to you, but I'm enjoying that. It's not leaving me like really confused, just a little bit confused, enough for me to be intrigued and to carry on reading until I can kind of piece things together from context clues rather than it just info dumping on me. As I said, I'm not that far in. I'm definitely gonna read a bit later on, but we're gonna play a little game now, so I'll probably update you in a little bit. In other news, I remembered that Chris got me a picture for Christmas and we hadn't got the hanger for it to match all of these ones until recently, so I need to hang it up. It's this really cute little mushroom ghost, so I'm gonna do that. If you can hear whirring, it's Chris's computer because he's gaming in the corner while I am over here doing DIY. We're breaking molds. Voila! Little update before bed. I am on page 90 of Hart and Mercy. I'm really enjoying it so far. I don't want to give too much away because it's one of those books where it's so weird and just wacky that you kind of want to go into it not knowing anything and just figure things out by piecing all of the weird clues together. But the romance is definitely slow paced. Like, they're into each other, but the actual romantic plot is a slow burn. But the world building is intriguing enough, and kind of piecing it all together is like enough of a mystery to keep you really entertained in the meantime. All of the characters are really endearing. There's a big theme of loneliness, either from literally having no friends or from having people around you but not having anyone you can fully explain yourself to and be fully open with. So I think the two main characters are going to bond over that. But at the same time, all of the other characters involved are great so far. There are quite a few himbo characters, which I'm really enjoying. Always love a silly, wholesome guy. I think it's one of my favourite types of characters. But yeah, just really enjoying it so far. Hate to say Chris was right, but he was. Anyway, I'm gonna head to bed. I'm working for the next few days, so I'm gonna sneak in as much reading as I can between my shifts and maybe sneak in an update if possible. But if not, I will see you in a few days to have another big reading day catch up. So yeah, see you soon. Howdy. It is the next evening. I've gotten a little bit more reading done of both books. I am now on page 154 of Heart and Mercy and chapter 20 of Girl Goddess Queen. My feelings so far. Girl Goddess Queen is not what I expected it to be. It's very much not a classic rom-com. It's not just kind of a cute and funny time like I expected it to be. And I think that is maybe skewing my view of it, but I think that's more on me than the book, if that makes sense. It's a lot more feminist focused. The main character does not want to get married in the slightest. Totally valid. But I'm struggling to see how it's going to turn into a romance at all at this point. I don't know. I really don't know where it's going to go, which is a strange setting for a romance. I guess sometimes when you go into a rom-com, you kind of know exactly what's going to happen, and that's the fun of it. In a way, it feels cozy and comforting and fun because you know all of the classic rom-com plot beats, and that's kind of what you're looking for when you go into that. And this is not that, which doesn't mean it's bad, it's just not what I was expecting. So I'm adjusting. I'm trying to refocus my brain and enjoy the book for what it is. But yeah, bear with me as I calibrate that one. Undertaking of Heart and Mercy, however, I am enjoying immensely. This is all of those rom-com tropes, kind of, but also really weird world building and a lot of very endearing, well-rounded side characters. I just don't think there's a part of this that I'm not liking. This is the first book in quite a while where when I'm not reading it, I'm wishing I could be reading it. Like at work all day, I've just been thinking, oh, I wish I was reading Heart and Mercy right now. I will say, if you're not into like dead people stuff, this isn't a scary book by any means, but there is reference to like dead body fluids and things. So if you're grossed out by that, then be warned, that is featured in here. One of the main characters is an Undertaker and the other one is a zombie killer. So they come up. It's bizarre, I guess, to have the contrast of those things with these people leading pretty ordinary lives in a lot of aspects and having ordinary people problems like loneliness, like family drama, like expectations put on them by gender, by family history. It's just such a weird mishmash of real life problems and bizarre fantasy world building with old gods and new gods and zombies and souls that are stored in your appendix. It's really wild. And it's keeping me very engaged, piecing all of these weird bits of world building together while I wait for the romance to kind of catch on, because it's very much slow burn. But I enjoy that, that's fine. So far, I'm preferring Heart and Mercy. I think that's probably the way this is going to pan out, but I'm hoping that Girl Goddess Queen, once I adjust to this new frame of what that book is meant to be, I will also enjoy by the end of it. But that's the update for now. See you at some point in the future. Hello. It is a few days later. I've been at work for a few days, so I've done some reading in between my shifts, but I have another day off today and it is Valentine's Day tomorrow. So hopefully I can spend a day finishing up these books. I've decided to have a cozy day. Chris and I are actually going to a party tonight, which is very out of character for us. So I have decided to not properly get dressed until then. I am now on page 318 of Heart and Mercy and chapter 28 of Girl Goddess Queen. I'm like 60% through, I think. I am loving Heart and Mercy. I'm really enjoying it. It's the first time in a while where I've read a book where all of the main characters and the people around them are just nice people, unapologetically. They all really care about being kind to each other and working through conflicts. They're all very flawed and will make mistakes, but then they will do their best to solve those problems, which is really refreshing to see, because a lot of the time in romance you just get infinite communication issues and it feels like things get dragged out for the sake of tension sometimes, and that isn't happening in here, I don't think. There are some mistakes that are being made, and one of the main characters I've been very frustrated with throughout, but I can understand why they're making the decisions that they're making. It doesn't feel like it's just thrown in there so that there is a plot. It's also just really fun having the contrast between this wholesome family dynamic, this new romance emerging, and then zombies and Undertaking and dead bodies, cadavers everywhere. It's a weird contrast, but it somehow heightens the coziness, I think. And it's definitely gripped me more than anything I've read for quite a while. I know that they're releasing another one later this year. I think it's The Undermining of Frank and Twyla, who are like briefly mentioned in this book. They are characters in this world, but I think it's a very separate kind of story. It's not a direct sequel to this one, but I'm definitely gonna want to read that one too, though I'll have to fight Chris for first dibs. Girl Goddess Queen is definitely developing now into almost what I thought it was going to be. It is a romance, and that's not a spoiler because it's heavily implied by the blurb and the marketing in general, but it almost feels like a spoiler because we don't really even get the beginning of that developing until a good way through the book. I am enjoying it now that it's happening, but I'd say don't go into this book expecting a rom-com. Go into this thinking about how messed up Greek mythology is, and it's not shied away from in here, the amount of awful things that especially the men, the gods like Zeus, have done, especially related to the way that they treat women. Nothing is, at least so far, directly pictured as happening to the main character, but they still have a lot of trauma from growing up in that environment and knowing that things like that could happen to them if they stepped out of line or gave the wrong impression to one of the male gods. I'd recommend looking up trigger warnings for this one if you fancy getting to it. It does definitely cover some of those topics. But the romance is quite sweet now that we're getting into it. It's very playful. I enjoy the banter between the two of them. But hopefully I can finish both of them by the end of today, by the time we have to go to this party. So I'm probably gonna go back to my classic, do some crochet, get some reading done, and I will give you an update in a little bit. I have officially finished Girl Goddess Queen. I have some thoughts. I enjoyed it. I wasn't as obsessed as I kind of wanted to be, but I don't think that's necessarily the book's fault. It's more kind of the expectations I had going into it. But for now, I want to try and finish Hart and Mercy by the time Chris gets home and we have to get ready to go out. So I will give you a proper wrap up of both books once I'm done. But for now, I have about 100 pages left of this one. So we're gonna try and power through the rest of this one, and I will talk to you in a bit. Hello, it is the next day. It's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. I was planning on updating you last night before we went to this party, but A, we were running late, and B, I was a little bit tipsy, and C, Hart and Mercy made me cry at the end, so I felt like it would be a good idea to take some time to compose myself and my feelings and thoughts about that book before I had a chat with you about it. So I've now read both of these books. I enjoyed both of them. I enjoyed Hart and Mercy most, definitely. Girl Goddess Queen had a lot of themes that I really enjoyed exploring, mostly to do with feminism and looking at Greek mythology through that lens, because when you really think about it, it was very messed up. The main character in here is definitely quite power hungry, but that isn't framed as a bad thing at all, and they do still care about other people around them. They just, when it comes down to it, are gonna choose to take care of themselves. This also explores trauma when it comes to sex, and I really love the way that consent was handled in here. An emphasis is really on any interactions of that nature between the main two characters being very consensual. I will say I wasn't as emotionally invested as I kind of wanted to be. I liked both of the main characters, their banter was fun, and I did enjoy the way that their relationship developed, especially towards the end of the book. But I think maybe because I'd gone into it expecting it to just be kind of a fluffy rom-com, I just hadn't geared my brain quite up to expecting the dynamic that I was given. So I definitely recommend this one, but go into it expecting a slightly heavier book. It's still mostly good fun, but there are topics that are explored that are definitely a bit heavier. At the end of the day, it is just a retelling of Persephone and Hades, but completely reframed in a way that makes it Persephone's choice to come to the underworld, to become the queen of hell. It reframed everything in a really fun way, and you can really tell that the author knows their Greek mythology and are just kind of playing around with it, so that was fun. It also explores the main character's relationship with her mother is very complex. The way that she was raised left her with quite a few issues to work through, but at the same time, the world that she was raised in kind of meant that her mother had to do those things to prepare her for the reality of how she'd be treated by all of the other gods if she didn't fall in line. So that was really interesting how that was unpacked, because it was very much a grey area. So yeah, enjoyed this one. Maybe not quite as much as I thought I would, but that's probably more on me than the book. Undertaking of Hart and Mercy, on the other hand, I really love this book. It is the first book in quite a while that's hooked me the way that this one did. When I wasn't reading it, I was wanting to get back to it. I think that my favourite aspect of this story is the world building, which isn't what I expected going into it, because it is definitely romance heavy, but there's a lot more to it than that. The world that Megan Bannen has created here is really quite intricate and really quirky, funny in a lot of places, and the way that it's delivered is really interesting. It's not info dumped at all. It's always given to you in these little tastes that are just in context. The characters are acting as if these things are normal, and you just kind of get your head around them through context clues. So I really enjoyed piecing those clues together. One thing I've been bullying Chris for is, in this story, people don't have cars, they have auto ducks. And I said to him, oh, so they travel on water? And he was like, no, they're just cars, they're just called that. And objectively they do travel on water. I think they might do both, but there is a line in here where someone is in an autoduck and they pull off the waterway and float in the middle of the ocean. And Chris has read this book twice and he didn't realise that, so I did bully him for that. Also, the blend of just the macabre and having all of these kind of dead bodies around, combined with the fluffiness of the romance, is really fun. I will say that there was one thing about the plot at the end that I had an issue with. I won't say what it is, no spoilers, but I think it could have been done better. I think that a minor change could have been made to give a better explanation to something, and that would have stuck the landing a lot better for me. So the ending wasn't quite as good as I'd hoped. And also, I think I wanted a little bit more from the relationship between the main two characters. They very much had an attraction to each other. This is quite a raunchy book, by the way, just so you're aware. And you could definitely feel that they were attracted to each other and cared about each other. But I think that their emotional connection could have just had a little bit more development. It was nearly there, but it needed a tiny bit more for me. But the relationships with the side characters in this book, I adored so much. One of the main characters is a marshal, aka a zombie hunter, and early on in the story they get an apprentice, reluctantly, whose name is Duckers, Penn Duckers, and I would die for him. He was so sweet, and the relationship between them, it begins to kind of soften that main character up, because you just couldn't help but love Duckers. And there very much wasn't a character in here that when they came on the page I was thinking, oh, I'm bored of this person, can we get back to someone else? All of the characters in here felt vibrant and lifelike, and I was interested in the relationships that they had with the main characters. So yeah, I'd highly recommend this one, and I'm really excited to read The Undermining of Twyla and Frank later this year. But that is my little romance reading vlog done. I hope you're having a lovely February. If you're reading any cute romances yourself, I'd love to hear about them. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you very soon in another video. Bye bye.